orchestra, and tonight it's a night of culture.
Yeah, I'm Ray Schulte, and I had the fortune and the opportunity to start the what's called now the Scottville Clown Band 1947. We played many years before that as a Scottville Merchants Band, a Scottville Clown Band, not a clown band, but a Scottville band that played for the Harvest Festival. And eventually the guys started coming back in 1940, around 1946 and 47. So we started what's now called the Scottville Clown Band.
My name is George Wilson. I'm from Scottville, one of the few that still live in Scottville, via Detroit, Michigan. Joined the Scottville Clown Band in 1947. And how I got in the band was when they reformed after the war. Arnold Carlson, the superintendent of schools at that time in 1947, had before the war worked with the band. And they were looking for somebody for a leader, and he said, I got just the kid for you.
There were not a whole lot of us at that time. There was only probably about 12 or 14 guys that were dedicated to music. Liked to play. I had the fun of getting together once a week on Tuesdays, and we had an old building there behind the schoolhouse. I think it was a barracks from the war that we practiced in, and this was kind of a unique group because they all liked to play and they all came out for this particular practice.
That was in 1947, March at the Harvest Festival, and that was my first go, and dressed as a pregnant drum majorette with my punch.
Beethoven, Bach, Brahms, we have them all.
I do the stripper once in a while.
How did you do that? Did you start out doing that, or?
No. It got to a point where they were looking for another guy to do it, and Kenny Sims says, "Hey, Len, you go try it once." The first time I tried it, I felt so conspicuous out there. I said, "I'll never do this again," but I've been doing it. Clyde Nelson was probably the first, I'd say, star
We got, and he's the only man I know, on his 75th birthday, his lovely wife Peg gave him a wedding dress, a satin wedding dress.
Yeah.
Clyde was the first stripper. He was a railroad engineer. We lost Clyde when he was 78 years old and was still performing.
We used to have a stripper in the band, God rest his soul, Clyde Nelson, and the band went for a couple of years without a stripper when Clyde passed away. And 1 year down in Benton Harbor, St. Joe, it just seemed like tradition we were going through there. We'd marched there for many years, and the band needed somebody to do a stripper, and I had just about enough to drink, so I offered to get out there and do something irate, which I did. The band fell in love with it, and I got tagged with the stripper ever since.
I, like everybody else here, I think in the band is kind of a secret thespian, a secret performer.
Direct to you from the Boom at Crystal Valley, the lovely Tempest Reeds, the tassel turner. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the lovely Tempest Reeds twirling her tassels. Well, now dazzle you with her choreographer, choreography, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tempest Reeds and their tassels. And as we say, directing you from the Bolshoi in Moscow, ladies and gentlemen, the prima donna of the clown band, Tempest does her thing.
camaraderie is absolutely marvelous.
No, I have a lot of fun. Something to do on your weekends keeps you out of the pool room.
I'm Len Holler, and this is my boy Terry and my boy Thomas. And we all play in the band together. We have a lot of fun together. And I can't think of a better family thing than have something like this. Just three of us, and we have a good time together.
They made some great music, and we'd like to do a medley.
Oh, hey.
Thank you. I think that guy's got top, huh?
What key is that? I don't know. Skeleton key. 1, 2, 3, 4.
some very classy-looking groups so far, something we're very proud of here in Frankenmuth in the annual parade. But the group coming into view right now is questionable at best.
Now, if you say that's our police force, you're...
No. I'm already in bad trouble with with Chief here. How would you describe them?
Well, they play very well.
Good, yes.
No, they strike up a mean tune. I haven't quite deciphered what it is yet.
I believe this is the Scottville Clown Band. Their 82nd year. They're sponsored by the Frankenmuth Mutual Insurance Company. And this is not a one-time affair. They do many public service projects.
Encouraging other young people to go on to a musical field of endeavor. They do sponsor some band scholarships. Hopefully not this band, though. What do you think?
As long as they encourage them how to play and not how to dress.
My name is George Wilson, and I'm a secretary of the Scottville Clown Band, which means I do windows. And to my left is the Godfather, and to my right is the Czar of transportation. The Godfather is Ray Schulte, and Ray played with the Clown Band back in the 30s.
That's right, George.
And what was it, 1947, when they started the Harvest Festival again.
Yeah.
The call went out. You started it.
Yeah.
It's all your fault.
You remember, George, the first thing we did was Arnold Carlson was the superintendent. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he played in the early days when they had we just played for the Harvest Festival, and we got the okay from him to use the barracks, that barracks building that was their music room at that time for our Tuesday night practices, and that's how this thing all really got started. There were enough guys around that came back that were interested in playing.
Well, you had servicemen that came back that played before.
Servicemen came back.
And then you dipped into the pep band.
That's right.
1947, that with Merle Reeds.
Yeah.
And bunch of
Who was in that, Merle?
All the Cicanas boys and
Skeets Listing.
Thompson, Skeets Listing. A real bad list. A very bad people.
Earl Anderson.
Dick Buck.
Don't forget Dick, that's right.
Well, Ray sort of got the tap.
Bill Benz from Ludington, and of course Art and Russ Anderson.
Yeah.
Well, those guys weren't in your pep band, were they?
No,
at
not
least,
in the pep.
Well, they weren't in our pep band, but they ended up in the practice band.
Well, what really happened, Ray starts it out again for the 1947. The festival starts set again after the war. You get some people in like that played, and come back, I'm talking about Ray, Freddie Reeder.
And my brother,
your brother Jim, and some of the guys that played way back in the bands, and all of a sudden put it together, tapped the pep band, and I tell you how I got into it. You wanted Arnold Carlson to lead it.
Yeah.
And he says, no.
I was going to ask you that question.
Well, this really happened. I get called into the office one day. I said, my God, what did I do now?
Yeah.
I get there and said, well, Arnold Carlson said that Ray Schulte's putting the band together, and they're going to Harvest Festival, and I suggested that you use you as a leader. You'd be, of course, when Arnold suggested, sort of like you did when you were president, you told us.
Yes.
And that's how I got in the clown band, is that Arnold said, I can't do it, but there's a kid that's just stark raving nuts called George Wilson. And that's how I got the clown
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
Arnold Carlson's the one who got me.
I'm glad we're doing this, because I wondered how you got in there.
Yeah, I thought I snuck in the back door.
There you go. Well, anyway, that's...
Well, we went from playing once or twice a year until now, currently, I think we run between 50 and 60 times.
Yeah.
And the band has grown in numbers, and I guess in sophistication, although we thought we were pretty sophisticated way back then.
You had hair.
I've got an interesting item here. You two guys will relate to this. When we first started practicing on Tuesday nights, Don Foreman had belonged to either American Legion Band. They disbanded in Ludington, and he brought those red books up, and that's how we started. That's all the music we had. They were all marches, as I recall, and George Long, who came from wherever he happened to be at that time, would help us get through those pieces, and it was quite a thing, to just get a group of guys that enjoyed it that much and to work on some music that they never worked on before.
It's funny. I think when we first went out, Ray, there's some old pictures in our albums. There were about 12, 13, 14 of us. I remember marching Michigan City, Indiana with 14. Merle, you're in charge of transportation. You got the big bus, the clown band, DOT. Right. How many people do we haul around it?
Well, let me lay some boring statistics on you. We average about 8,000 miles a year. And that's going to and from. The responsibility of the transportation department is to get the band there and to get them home, hopefully safely. We have volunteer drivers, and we keep approximately a dozen on line all the time to make sure that we have a driver when it comes to time for us to do our shows. There's a lot of logistics involved in getting the band from point A to point B, and we carefully hide all the logistics if we can. The band, the bus arrives at the head of the parade, the band gets off, George blows his whistle, and down the street we go. As far as the audience is concerned, this is a very magical event, and there's nothing to it. Believe me, there's quite a bit to it. We've had our excitement. We've had, in the last 5 years, we've had pretty much a perfect transportation year in terms of being on time for everything. That's the victory in itself. We've got to remember that in the clown band, the average intellectual age of a member is approximately 12 years, 5 months. And that's counting the doctors in the band. I'm not talking about the average member. That's the doctors.
Yeah, doctors, lawyers, judges.
Oh, we've got everybody.
We even got a cowboy or under the chestnut tree.
The Harrier.
How many we had? We started out with 15. Say we drove our own cars. I think I talked to Rob Alway, who is assistant secretary. He's also just that. There's 236 people on our roster today. And
you're talking about the 14 George down in Michigan City. I was down there. It was hot that day. I sat down in the tar.
Okay. Even back in those days, the Art and Russ Anderson, Bill Bentz, Don Foreman.
Tommy Coppian.
Think of the guys we had from Ludington that took that Tuesday off to come and play, you know. Bill and Dick Buck, they were always there in the early days.
We go north now on the bus. We pick up people in Manistee, Cadillac, Traverse City, Gaylord. We go north, we go south, we pick them up in Holland, Muskegon, Spring Lake, Grand Rapids, and we go east to Big Rapids and the whole nine yards.
In fact, we're too successful. We play on average, every year we play for or expose ourselves to approximately 2 or 3 million people. We play for more people. We play for more people than the Tigers, and we got a better record for those players.
I think, and of course, during the evolution from the 14 or 15 to start it out, which will be celebrating their 50th year, we have 200 and some odd people, and with the evolution, besides fine musicians, and they're played with Michigan State, Michigan marching bands. We've got professional, musicians that do it for kicks. We've also had some fine directors start out with Bobby Stakinas. So, well, George Long was the first one.
Long was first.
Then Bobby Stakinas, then Phil Sarine, Uncle Phil, the Music Man, and right now Dave Buckley. And it's a challenge, and we actually, believe it or not, we work at this. We practice. It just doesn't happen like Murray mentioned. And we actually work at it because we have pride in our organization. And and plus the fact, speaking of organization, we are a nonprofit corporation. We have a board of directors.
Another appeal the band has is, in my judgment, psychological. We are in what I call the TV perfect world. You turn the TV on, the sets are perfect, the people look beautiful, and the entertainment art isn't quite there. We're the exact opposite. Down the street comes this motley crew. I mean, horrible looking.
Hey, what's he talking about?
Don't overdo it.
You got the profile in there.
Yeah,
there it goes. Get to know.
And then we play. We got that low brass sound, and we absolutely knocked it.
We just lost the trumpet section, right there.
Knocked their socks off.
I like the parades most of all, even though I can't march in them anymore. I think that's the time that the people enjoy the most.
Probably what I think the majority of the members feel is the people you're associated with in the band.
I think that if I was to summarize why I stay in the band, and what I think is the most magnificent thing, is the camaraderie and all the beautiful, wonderful, special friends that I've become acquainted with through the years.
Yeah.